How we doing, everybody? Andy Malfrina here. Welcome to Drag the Lake Reactions and Reviews. Over here we do reactions and reviews. If you're looking for full podcasts and stuff and just straightforward album reviews, which you will be getting, you can get the album review for this album over there, the main channel, link for it down below. So today, and this is very appropriate because I'm coming to you on a very rainy Austin, Texas Sunday afternoon. The rain's quite immediate. It happened moments before I started recording, which feels somewhat appropriate considering the band we're about to listen to. Now, I don't know a shitload about Shinto Katana. I just actively started being able to remember how to say their name right. I kept calling them Shinobi Blade. I have no idea what that is. Actually, I can Google it on the side when I start listening to it. I don't know what that is, but I kept calling them Shinobi Blade. So I like to give context when I do these album reactions and stuff like that, so you guys know where I'm coming from. I've not listened to this band before. Or no, I have listened to this band before, but the new iteration. I know they were around like about a decade ago. I'm going to get into that discography at some point, but I want to talk about it now. I want to talk about this band now because I found out about them recently. I forget where, but I saw the name of the band, Shinto Katana. Very sick band name. I think I was listening to, this might be a shout out to the Spotify algorithm, because I think I was listening to like Kubla Khan or something like that, pulled up the radio, and this was one of the bands that they were like, oh, if you like this, you like that. And it was accurate. I was talking about them on the podcast yesterday, which, once again, the podcast you can go watch on the other channel. I was talking about them on the podcast yesterday when we recorded. The episode drops tomorrow. But I was talking about them over there, and I was like, I like them because it's like they have an Amir feel. They have sort of the, like, vibe of Boundaries. I don't know if you guys listen to Boundaries. They're not super popular yet, but they should be because they're very fucking good. But yeah, they have sort of the tone and vibe of Boundaries mixed with like a more traditional hardcore band, and that's why I think they kind of pair well with fans of Kubla Khan. Kubla Khan's not 100% traditional. Well, no, yeah, they pretty are, but they have like more of a rock and roll alt to their sound. But regardless, yeah, that's what kind of got me excited about Shinto Katana when I started listening to their newer shit a little bit, is that, yeah, they kind of stick to a lot of the traditional hardcore themes musically, but the tone is different. So it's almost like you're getting something you're semi-familiar with, but you're like, the packaging's a little different. And I like that. I like, there's a lot of great bands that come out every year, but sometimes you just hear a band and you're like, I heard this already. It sounds like, whatever band they end up sounding like, you're like, it just sounds like they wrote another album. And I'll wait till that band writes that album. So to sort of be able to take what's already been established, what we all agree on is a fun time, and then put your little spin on it, I'm a big fan of it. Also, I was watching a live video of them, and they're all, well, they're lead singers at least, and I think a few of them, but they're big, strong boys. And I gotta be honest, when that's half the reason I love Speed, besides the music being great and probably being the only hardcore band to implement a flute. Putting a few big, strong boys in there, I'm having a good time. So that's enough talking. Let's check this EP out. They just dropped it the other day, about 5 days ago. Okay, so I'm like a week behind on some of these albums I want to talk about right now, but regardless, it's still pretty fresh. It's still pretty new, and it's going to be a good time. Spoiler alert, I have listened to this, but I still like to listen and talk about it on these videos and shit like that. So let's hop into it. First song, Inferno. I'm just gonna let this song play through and talk about them both. Dawn Curse. Yeah, like right out of the gate, the first time I heard them, I just was like, yes, I fuck with these guys. Because they do the thing that because I like a lot of bands, but the bands I like the most when I hear them, it's the ones that like, I hear them and I just go, damn, I wish I wasn't sitting and recording a video now. I wish I was at the show jumping on people. Because I'm a very... I like to be involved. I like to be involved, and you know, there's a lot of bands you listen to, and you're like, this fucking rips. But when you listen to it, you're content sitting in your seat while you're listening to it fucking rip. But like the way this band's going, they're just like you kind of hear what I'm saying. Like in the beginning, they had the cool hardcore intro where comes in strong, comes in heavy, is like a real almost like party starter. Like if they throw this up at the beginning of their set, even if you don't know the band, you just kind of hear it and you're like, oh, it's time to move. It's time to move and it's time to have a good time. And then they do, you know, they kind of hit few of the parts of the checklist, not bring the breakdown back, but slower. But they kind of hit you. I forget exactly what they did on Inferno, but they kind of hit you with a new one, and slowed it down a little bit. Just, you know, doing a little fan service, which there's nothing wrong about that. I'm a big wrestling fan, and wrestling's all about fan service. You gotta show appreciation to the people that put money in your pockets. And I know I'm not putting a lot by just streaming, but one day, I will buy a Shinto Katana t-shirt. And then I will complete the cycle of fan service. So like, ooh, you service me, I'll service you guys. But no. So, and even in this first song, they're hitting a few things where I go like, ooh, that thing. Oh yeah. Oh yes. Very nice and lovely. But, at the same time, you can kind of hear it, what I was talking about before with the tone, with the, with like the tone of the guitars. It has a much more like darker feel. Cause I think with a lot of hardcore bands that implement these, rhythms and sort of this songwriting, they implement these different things in their songwriting. They don't necessarily have as dark and it's like spooky of a tone, which I like. I like adding that dark, spooky tone because it adds it honestly, listening through my headphones, it adds a much like fuller sound. It adds a lot more emphasis to what they're doing, sort of having the more like rounded out tone of everything. So they kind of like attack a little bit harder and have a stronger emphasis on what they're doing. So they're kind of hitting you with some things you're used to, but at the same time, they're hitting you in a whole new way. You know what I mean? It's like when an MMA fighter sort of figures out a tweak on a technique where you're like, ooh, I've seen this before, but I also am getting hit with something different at the same time. So yeah, let's keep it moving. Yeah, that lead into that part's so sick. Back it up. Yeah, so like right here, you can just kind of picture everyone two-stepping and shit like that, and you're just like having a good little time. No, everyone's like, "Ooh, two-step." It's kind of a little bit safer on the two-step. You don't have to have your head on a swivel on the two-step as much. But then, and you can just like, I've been to enough shows and stuff. I've been to enough shows and stuff to know when you like hear that part, you're like, it's like it's just such a fun moment at the show when you're like doing your little two-steppy thing, and then that kind of shit hits. They cut it in half. They have like that more wide open feel to the breakdown, and you just, okay, a war zone's about to happen. And you know, that's some of the shit I like. I am sort of on the bench of I think, I don't know if I've talked about it before in other videos. I've definitely talked about it on the podcast if you guys listen to it. But yeah, I got clocked real hard in a tsunami pit, and I think it rattled me, and it also gave me a huge medical bill. So gave me a very big medical bill. So there's part of me that's afraid to go into pit. There's part of me that's afraid to go back into a pit before I pay that off. And I was like, dude, I can't. It's like that thing where you're like, I'll probably be fine, but you just know how much money that fucking emergency room bill is, and you're just like, do I risk getting 2 of those? No, I will not. So I am a little rattled, but hypothetically speaking, if I was, if I had my medical bill paid off and I was back in the pit, that would be the excitable war zone point of a show, and I would get hyped with all the other boys. And that's another example of what is that an example of? I don't know what it's an example of, but it is a thing I like where, because like the fun part about hardcore bands is they don't really have to stick to any sort of traditional format. So you can have just a lot of times in the middle of the second half of the song, they'll just throw in a breakdown at a new tempo. But sometimes, and this is what I was saying this earlier. This is how Day to Remember ruined a bunch of bands, because Day to Remember figured out the perfect formula of like, you're a pop punk emo type band, and we're just gonna shoe in a breakdown. We're just gonna shoe in a breakdown, shoehorn, shoe in a breakdown, whatever. And then a lot of bands heard that and they're like, oh, you just put in a random breakdown, and you're like, yeah, no, but it just, when everyone's doing it and most of you aren't doing it right, it sounds fucking weird. But thematically, what they're doing right here on this song doesn't sound awkward. So I always like that. I always like, because there's always these creative moves bands like to do, but they don't always know exactly how to execute it. So it all just comes off as like a weirdly put together collage where you're like, yeah, there's a bunch of cool stuff. There's a bunch of like cool stuff going on here, but when you put it all together, and you kind of back up from it, it just kind of looks odd. But this right here, sort of, it's like they took a bunch of little pieces and formed one strong structure to it, which is why it's better. Play. The pain of the darkness, I keep losing my way in search of what sunrise. Where clouds have departed, I keep telling myself that I should be grateful, but I'm still chasing shadows. I keep closing my eyes to see if you're still there. Kind I like that line. Don't mean to keep pausing it. I know some of you guys get annoyed, but I've heard it already, and this is the reaction. But I like that line where he said, "What he said, I know I should be grateful, but I'm still chasing shadows," which I identify with. I'm much better at it now, but I for the longest time was real bad at letting things go, and like not living in the moment. Or I think some people can live too in the moment, and then this goes back to a thing I was saying on a stream before, where a lot of people just focus on having fun, and it's like fun, like sort of that extra. It's almost like if you compare it to eating like cookies, it's no problem having some cookies. But if you're only eating cookies, and then it's like, what's the big deal? And then also too, it's like you're gonna end up in a pretty bad situation. You're gonna be big and fat. You're gonna have no teeth and probably get diabetes. So it's like, and you kind of implement that to life where people just don't want the fucking party to stop. But you kind of got to realize, if we're comparing it to the food analogy, you got to eat your chicken and broccoli at some point. You got to eat your chicken, broccoli, and brown rice. But that makes the cookies more fulfilling. And so I identify with that fucking lyric. Well, or what was I saying before? Like living too in the fucking moment. You have to be conscious of stuff, but you also can't like live in the past. You can't just like live in the past and stew on that. Because I was the type of guy where like I'll be like, ooh, I'll remember that and I'll forgive you once you apologize or we get even. And it's like, you can't live your life like that. You can't live your life like that. It's like fucking exhausting. You're going to create, you're going to put standards on people that they don't deserve to have put on them. And it'll create resentment and hatred in you. And you'll be a nasty boy. And no one wants to be a nasty boy. Everyone wants to be cool dudes. And if you're a nasty boy, you can't be a cool dude. Okay, that's why I backed it up. I was like, wait, do we have ourselves a different time signature? And yeah, I think they were either doing, I don't know how much is going to mean to anyone else, probably only the musicians. I couldn't tell if that was like whatever it would be, 12/8, 6/8 versus like a 4/4 measure. It was they're probably like 3/4 measures, because I don't think they shifted to the eighth note as the whatever the fuck that is. I think it was more of like 3/4 measures or 6/4 or 12/4, however you want to look at it. But yeah, I like that. And that kind of highlights what I was saying about these guys before, where they take the traditional hardcore model and do these like subtle tweaks to it. So if you're just vibing out, you don't really notice that they just switched to like a 3/4 measure, and you can still groove to that. Like when you're hearing that live and you're like, if you're doing your little dance and then they hit that, it's not like your dance is going to get interrupted. You're still going to be able to like vibe out pretty smooth to that. But yeah, adding those little things. I like because a lot of bands, they're trying to be complicated for the sake of it, and then they just make a weird, hard to follow song. And this right here, it's like they slipped it in real smooth, like you almost didn't even fucking notice. That's why I like was kind of vibing out, and then halfway into it, I go, wait a minute. Because I was trying to hear, I was like, where the fuck is the snare drum? What is that snare drum doing? And then like the rhythm, yeah, it felt a little off time, but still sitting in the groove. So that was very cool. All right, next song, Sabaku Kyo? I don't know how to say this song title. Oh, and it's also featuring a band called Volatile Waves, which I was literally introduced to yesterday. Yeah, when we were recording the pod yesterday, which again comes out on Monday, link down below to go watch that. When we were recording the pod yesterday, we stream it too, twitch.tv/IndieMouthFreedom. We were streaming, and I was talking about these guys. I was talking about Shinto, Katana on the stream, and then someone was like, "Oh, you got to check out Terminal Sleep," which I have, another great Aussie band. And then they're like, "Oh, and you also have to check out Volatile Ways." And I saw them, and I was like, "Ooh, heavy band, lady lead singer." You guys know I love the lady lead singers in the heavy bands. I think the female tone lends itself better sometimes to heavy music, and it creates I was talking earlier before about the spooky feeling. It creates a much more spooky feeling, which I like. So yes, I have listened to the singer of Volatile Ways without realizing it, but I still need to get into Volatile Ways. All right, here we go. Here's this song. Oh, and I have a heart on already. I think this is my first song, my favorite song of theirs. So with that vibe shift up there where they kind of go to the two-step part, it made me think, like, I like and I don't want this to sound negative, but I like the slight predictable nature of this genre, because I do think it's a genre that more so has the live show in mind, because it is sort of a knock on the band if, okay, you're a good band, but in this type of genre, like, if you can't get the people moving live, it is a little bit of a knock. So it's starting to make me think in the songwriting process, it is, sorry, I'm looking at my window. Pretty lady in her gym clothes going to the gym. Hell yeah, that was sick. Hell yeah, super sick. Anyway, stay focused. But no, because there are like a lot of genres in the world that, like, they lend themselves to being mindful of the live performance more so, and this is one of those genres. So for the people in the audience, it's almost good to do things that give them a cue of what's about to happen. So then, because it is a much more interactive experience, you as the audience member can be that much more locked in. So, like, I've never heard this song before, but I kind of like, or no, I have heard this song before, but it's like I only heard it once or twice. So it's not like I've memorized the song yet. And even just listening to it, I can kind of hear where it's going to go. But some people would take that as a knock on certain genres. I think with this genre, that's probably a better thing to do. So at times, a fake out's great. Going back to the wrestling references, a fake out is good. They call it a swerve in the industry. People like swerves. That keeps them excited. But at the same time, kind of getting a little hint about what's about to happen, especially when the live element is such a crucial, is crucial the right word? The live element is such a, just intertwined part of this whole experience. It is almost good to, like, give the audience cues of, like, this is probably what's going to happen. So get ready. Tie your dancing shoes a little bit tighter, kiddos.
Sky turns black and the earth feels cold.
Wait, I gotta hear something. Yeah, that was a cool little thing that they did. So if you heard the build up, and once again, they did kind of the build up we're slightly used to, which we're slightly used to with a little bit more fanfare around it, but then mix that with, so the rhythm was dun 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 dun, and then when the breakdown came in, it was some like dun 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 dun, which I love that breakdown. the just rolling chuggas like like the feeling of it is just so satisfying. Yeah, it just adds, because I think a lot of bands implement like the solid beat, like the straight beats, like dum 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 da 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 or whatever, but like there's something a little bit more creative and grooving of the dum da da dum da da dum da da dum. It's good. But yeah, that's another sort of like slight misdirect, and then doing that to sort of expand the sound and just have more going on. It's weird. It's like I'm sort of like this music is kind of predictable in the sense that, like, yeah, they're probably gonna play a two-step part. Oh, they're probably gonna play a breakdown right here. But then in those, you know, and I don't mean to sound condescending, but I think predictable is the right word. That's not necessarily a bad thing. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I'm going to predict something cool is going to happen. Oh, shit, something cool happened. That's nice. That's not a bad thing. But, it's like I can broadly predict it, but when it gets down to the specifics and the nuts and bolts of what's happening, oh, fuck, I didn't know that was going to happen. And then that's an extra layer of like, it is almost a swerve to a degree where you're like, oh, I know what's going to happen. Ooh, I didn't exactly know what would happen. And I'm glad about that. Also, sick vocals, volatile ways. I realized I did not pick up that was a lady at first because those were very deep vocals and very gravelly. And yeah, just in general, you don't expect that to come out of a lady's voice. So incredibly impressive. Fuck yeah. Let's just keep it moving. Remnants. Ooh, actually, let's stop it real quick. Those drums. I've said it before. Not enough bands tune their drums like Slipknot with that like floppy wet sound. And I know that sounds weird. But yeah, there's like, if you go back and listen to like Slipknot's drum tuning is very distinct because no one else really does it, and it sounds sick. And honestly, other people might not do it because they're like, no, that's Slipknot's drums. Those aren't our drums. Like, and because they're pretty distinct to Slipknot, but I still like when drummers implement that, and I think because a lot of people are more focusing on, with certain hardcore bands, a lot of the drummers are focusing on having that, like, what do they call it, like the dodgeball snare drum or something like that, just with that boom, with that high pitched shit. Like, if you go listen to Tsunami, they have one of the best examples of it. But when it comes to the toms and shit, I gotta be honest, I don't always love the super high pitched snare drum. It's not bad, but I don't know. It's fun sometimes, but for a lot of bands, there's usually a better tone. And I don't think there's one specific tone for every other band, but I think a lot of the hardcore bands are real excited to use like the whatever you guys want to fucking call it, the dodgeball or whatever. It just sounds like you're hitting a horseshoe, like some big thing of iron or whatever. It just sounds like that. Which is, when it's done right, it's not bad. But there's a lot of bands that I think want to do it, and it's like, you guys don't need to. But when it comes to the toms, having that like. And I don't know how you do it. Like, I used to play the drums a bunch, and I would love to, when I eventually get a acoustic kit again, where I can sort of customize it a lot more than my electric kit I have. Although the electric kit, there are a bunch of settings, but like physically, you can only have those. There's a lot of them, but you can only have those settings. When it comes to actually like tweaking the physical drum, you obviously can't really do that with the electric. So that's a thing I'd be excited to get into when I get a drum set again, acoustic set again. I just need a garage. But I don't know how you do that. But that extra flop and like, it just feels, it's like a wetter sound. It sounds fucking cool, especially when you implement it in like hardcore, like metal influenced genres. So the drums sound very fucking cool. That guitar tone right there was very smart too, because we're about 2.5 songs in. Inferno's a song, but it was more of an intro song, so you don't really count it as like a full song. It's a 6-song EP. We're 2.5 songs in. We've already set sort of up the first 2 songs were different, but they had the same general vibe to them. And now throwing that guitar in, lightens it up a little bit, kind of changes the vibe, maybe gives it a slightly more like emo leaning metalcore vibe to it. But that's important with these genres. We're all about being heavy, so we all love heavy music, so a lot of the dudes stick to the lower end of the guitar. And then when most of these bands are down tuned, I'm assuming, I don't think you could do this genre and fucking drop D. I feel like you gotta drop down a couple letters. So a lot of times you stay down on the low end of the guitar, and then you slowly start to lose your variety of sound from song to song. So throwing something in like what we just heard changes that up. It changes the vibe. It still keeps it at home plate, but we're in a different stadium. Does that make sense? I don't know. Hell yeah. That was sick. It's not a perfect analogy, but or perfect comparison, but I was talking about a day to remember earlier, so I have like them on the mind, and it reminded me structurally of some of their older shit, but like substantially heavier. I'm trying to remember like, oh, what was their fucking? Sorry, on their older albums, when they first came out, the fuck was it? What the fuck was it? Because I was gonna say A Shot in the Dark, but I don't think that's the better one. Probably like Speak of the Devil or Danger and Star in the Fire, or probably Show 'Em the Ropes. Show 'Em the Ropes is like a better comparison where, like, from a structure standpoint, like I said before, this song's obviously substantially heavier and shit like that. They're not singing in it; they're still doing the heavy vocals and stuff like that. But yeah, they kind of stuck to a more traditional song format, which is good change up on this album to not just, to not just be the same thing over and over and over again. So show that you have a little bit more range, but while doing that, they're also keeping in their core elements of what they've already established with all these other songs. So I just like that for bands like this. I said it before, one of the biggest missteps bands like this do is just do the same thing over and over again, not add enough variety. So to be able to because a lot of times when you listen to bands like this, you don't really remember the song. You remember, oh, that's the song with this part. That's the song with that part. And then you kind of enjoy it around it, but you kind of wait for that part. But the song doesn't really like stay with you as a whole. This songwriting is going to stay with you as a whole more so you can get deeper into the songs rather than just wait for the cool part. So yeah, anyway, keep moving. This is The Bond. Actually, since I'm talking about the things bands like this can do, this is another to break up their sound. Is a lot of bands find their tempo and they stay in that tempo. Don't be afraid to do different tempos. This right here, it's like it feels a little slower than their other stuff. Actually, we'll keep listening to it. I don't know if it actually is now that I'm thinking about it. I know they're just playing it's like the way they're playing it feels slower. It might not actually be slower, but generally speaking, bands like this, don't be afraid, because a lot of them sort of hit that same tempo, which I get it, because it's like when the breakdown and the two-step part comes, you want it at a good two-step tempo. I've heard bands that play like a two-step part, but it's a little bit slower than what's natural to two-step to, and it's kind of awkward in that moment. So I get bands being I get it functionally being a little apprehensive to that, but an easy way to just broaden your sound, just, play a little faster than you normally do or play a little slower than you normally do. And if it doesn't work out at first, see what you can do in that. And then that will force you to be more creative and not just, you don't have to just have this tight, safe zone of things you know how to do. Force yourself to make the safe zone a little bit larger so that it just forces more creativity out of you.
Fighting
slowing it down. Dude, there's just nothing better than the tried and true. And it's I don't know if, I mean, it's kind of obvious, but if it's not, it's just such a great little cheat to just add this like big moment, and like you're not doing a lot. It's like the change from the main breakdown to the sort of slowed down part that's not really slowed down. Or what? Slowed down wouldn't be, but no. Basically, you're just going like dum 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 dum, and the drums hitting like a psh, 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 with the, it's more open, and then you just make it staccato. You know, so rather than, like, the drums are either going like psh, psh, like psh, 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 switch that over to the China, boom, psh, psh, psh. And then the guitar goes from dum 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 to just dum dum dum. And dude, you took the same thing. This is what I talk about. Why it's like, why, like, you hear more traditional bands like punk bands and pop punk bands, and I go, I'm on the second verse. Why is it played the same? Like, dude, all the same chords, do all the same chord progression. Just play it a little different. I heard this already. You know what I mean? The chorus is allowed to stay the same. Why are the verses sounding the same? Play the second verse differently or something. I don't know. Just like, you know, I don't know. So, but like, little stuff like that just makes me so happy, because it's like you're not doing a lot. You're not doing a lot, but you just, you know, you took that moment and you enhanced it. And then, yeah, the song did sound slower. And I forgot. I love the slow two-step part where it's just a little bit awkward of a tempo, but you can still dance to it. That shit rules. Yeah. Great fucking song. Let's keep it moving. Last song, Empty Promises. Oh, we're done already. Interesting way to end it. It is just an EP. It doesn't have to be a whole, a whole piece of, a whole production like that, like a normal album would be. But yeah, I wasn't expecting that ending. Good song. I like I wouldn't want a band full of like one and a half minute songs. Or I'm sorry, I wouldn't like an album full of like 1.5 minute songs, but throwing like 2 in there on an album and shit is fun, because they kind of just use that as an opportunity to just fucking punch you in the face. And that's what they were doing. You know, we're not here for nuance. We're not here to like ebb and flow. We're just here to punch you in the fucking dick and see if you can stay up. And that's what they did. It was very cool. All right, man. That was really good. I enjoyed it a lot. I liked how, you know what? Actually, yeah, that's right. I already gave you my analysis. I'm going to go record an album review, not an album. I'm not in a band. I'm going to record the full thought out album review for this, and you can go watch that on the main channel where we podcast and do, basically we don't play music over there so we can monetize that channel. So yeah, look for the full album review over on the main channel, link for it down below. All right, thank you for watching. I love you all. Until next time, be about it. Peace.